Good morning. Hi, guys. Everybody have a good long weekend? Well, this is Connie Yen. She's from over in the archives office. She's going to talk to us a little bit about what they do over there and kind of give us a lowdown.
Make stuff up.
There you go.
Exactly. Okay, let's see if I can. Okay, good. What is an archives? Does anyone know exactly?
Important old stuff.
Important old stuff. Perfect. There's kind of three definitions: archives, lowercase, permanently valuable records. Archives, capitals, the organization preserving those records, like the Greene County Archives, it would be capitalized. And then archives, just the building itself. And almost always it's plural. I don't know why. I guess because we have lots of pieces of paper. So then what is an archivist? Archivists are the ones who access, collect, organize, preserve, and provide access to all these records. Whoa. That was an accident. So what is the purpose of even having an archives? Part of it is preserving the old records, preserving the history of a group, a location, in our case, the entirety of Greene County. We conserve the records. We, the county provides a building to keep them safe. One of our long-term goals is to get temperature and humidity control in the building. You don't want fluctuations in that because it damages the paper. And then public access. Most of our records are open to the public, and if we don't make them available to the public, why are we taking care of them? Why are we storing them? And who do we serve? We have records from, as far as I know, every office in the county, and they do use the archives. We do provide them records periodically, particularly the circuit court's office. Professors, genealogists, we'd have a lot of genealogists come in, professors, historians. We hear from historians all over the country, and there's one man in particular in the UK who likes to do research on Hickok. We do help people with a lot of house histories, people coming in needing their divorces or their criminal records. So what happens to your records when they come over? Well, currently, we will provide you with boxes if you need boxes. We only use the cubic foot boxes. We slap a label on it. We need certain information from you, the retention schedule, the dates involved in the boxes, and then we will label it, add it to inventory. The label will contain the office, the retention, the justification for the retention from the Secretary of State's office, and it will be shelved, inventoried, so we can find it again if anyone needs it. This is what the old ones look like. They're in trifolds. That's a box of 19th century records. So then what we do with them? What do we do with them? Whatever. So this is a plat map that Commissioner McLaughlin brought in. As you can see, it's in pieces and kind of crinkled. So the first thing we do is clean them. Any of the old records that we're processing, we clean them. Let's go back. That one is actually in the humidification chamber because it needed to be flattened before it could be put back together. And they get cleaned with a document cleaning sponge. Mine's pretty dirty, it needs to be trimmed. On some of the older ones, they're covered in coal dust from being stored in the basement here years ago. They glued the papers together way back when. And so in order to separate them, we apply methyl cellulose to the top strip where the glue is. Methyl cellulose is actually an adhesive used in bookbinding, but somehow it also releases that glue. So we add that, wait 10 or 15 minutes, wipe it off, and then you peel the paper apart. That's very satisfying. And then they have to dry. If we just let it air dry, it will curl up and be brittle. So we lay each page between blotters and tissue paper so it can dry flat and not brittle. And then they're folded, abstracted, and this is the final product. From those nasty old trifolds to in these Hollinger boxes, where each one has a box folder number. In inventory, we can find any of these cases that anyone wants to look at. And we spend a lot of money on file folders. Lots of money on file folders. We have to get special archival folders for the old documents. Last year we spent $2,000. This year we're projecting $2,500. In years past, we didn't get to spend as much, and when we get close to running out of folders, then we just have to stop processing the old records until we can get some more. Oh, double duty. Okay, so that was being humidified. This is the restoration process with wheat paste. Wheat paste mixed with water, Japanese tissue paper, which has little threads that help bind the paper together. And then you have that flattened and put back together, which is also really satisfying. And because of all of that, you see how we feel. We are never caught up. And reboxing. That's Ashley, a former employee. She's reboxing some of Cheryl's records. Some of the boxes over there, particularly circuit court records, have been in the same boxes for like 20 years or more. They get pulled out, pushed and pulled a lot as people request their records, and they just have to be replaced. So we are on a mass reboxing binge this last year. And also a lot of the boxes, for some reason, were only partially full. So we've saved a lot of space doing this reboxing and making them look better. That's one of our many circuit court aisles. Yes, it is very satisfying. Once they're reboxed, have their nice label on them with the accession number. And those boxes are not cheap. For $200, it's almost $1,200. And some years we just plain have not had the money to buy any. Shane bought us some back in 2018. We bought some in 2022, and we're getting ready to buy some more. We run out of boxes, we just don't rebox. And sometimes some of the boxes can be reused as we're reboxing. If there's a side, if they're not torn and there's a side that looks pretty, we'll flip it. We want the place to look nice. And we use Hollinger boxes. We have coroner's records. Those are really cool. Those aren't terribly expensive, but we're using more and more of them as we do more some reboxing. Some of the older records are going into Hollingers. And we're one of our projects is going through all the old commission records from the very beginning, processing those. And part of processing is removing paper clips, staples, because those rust and damage the paper over time. Sometimes they've had rubber bands around them, which over time those petrify basically and have to be scraped off, and that those also discolor the paper. Our collections, the bulk of our collections is circuit court, approximately 11,000 cubic feet. And that's not even, well, the probate is also circuit, 1,000 cubic feet of boxes and books. We store records from the city of Springfield, and those are fascinating. We've been going through the city ordinances, and if you've seen any of our Facebook posts, they can be pretty entertaining. I mean, somebody filed a complaint about the town cow destroying people's yards, their gardens, and ruining the sweet temper of the ladies of Springfield. Could someone please do something about this town cow? We have some special collections. Those are what the general public has donated. We do take those kind of collections if they're primarily if they're Greene County related. We've got quite a few Frisco items that Richard Crabtree has donated. And then John Holston's granddaughter donated a lot of his records and photos. So that was exciting. Lord of the Rings? Any LOTR people in here? Yes. We do dispose of records. Most everything has a particular retention. Some things, of course, are permanent. A lot of things are not. And that's something that the local records board with the Secretary of State's office determines. Anything we keep or get rid of, we have to check that list. If we send a disposition letter to any county office holder requesting permission to dispose of records that have met retention, we cite the local records documents before we get rid of it. Because they all have a life cycle. Beginning to end, they're created, they're dispersed. You either need to keep them or you don't. They go to storage, and then some, like drug court records, mental health court records, those are never open to the public, and they have a short retention. I think 8 years, something like that. So then we can dispose of those after we get a letter of permission. Shredding isn't cheap. We used to use Midwest Fiber. It was $4 a box. Republic Services bought them out, and now it's $8 a box. Yeah. So we disposed of 125 boxes last year, which was right at our $1,000 allotted budget, and we will do that again this year. Supplies. We go through a lot of photo storage boxes and sleeves. I missed an image. Anyway, we have about 100,000 photos from the assessor's office that date back to, I don't know, the mid 80s, early 90s. Those are crammed into a cabinet. The Library Center is gradually taking those and digitizing them. They'll eventually be on their website. They'll have a whole house history tutorial on their website. And when they come back, they're put into photo sleeves and boxes because that will best preserve them. Temperature and humidity monitors, that's something we're going to get this year. Disaster prep supplies, you always want to be ready. You never know what's going to happen. Polyester processing folders, those are Mylar sleeves. Some records are so damaged that we can't really repair them. So we put them in a Mylar sleeve, and that keeps them safe. That keeps them together if we can't repair them. And a rule of thumb about any kind of plastic, putting any records in any kind of plastic, if it smells like a beach ball, don't use it. Cool things we have a Hickok signature on a subpoena. Aside from his manslaughter charge, he was subpoenaed in all kinds of cases, mostly related to gambling. It's locked up. We have a Dingle-Dine bottle. Has anyone ever heard of the Dingle-Dines? They were big beer brewers here at the turn of the century and even before, and Springfield Brew Co. is kind of a descendant of the Dingle-Dines. This was found, Kevin Barnes, he isn't here. When they dug up the lot next door to us, we went over and asked them if they found any artifacts. Could we have them? That's where we got perfectly preserved Dingle-Dine bottle. These are pretty rare. Even the History Museum asked to borrow it once for one of their displays. That's the photographs. That's how the photographs came to us and are currently stored. But that will gradually change and that will go away. The city council proceedings, as I said, these are fascinating. There's another one, and I haven't read the whole thing yet. There was an ordinance passed where women could not, their dresses had to be 3 inches above the ground. And men needed to stop spitting on the sidewalk. That's all in these books. In the county commission records, as Samantha is going through those old ones, I think this is actually from 1930. If you wanted to go kill some wolves, the county would pay you for it. We have books full of wolf pelt warrants where people were paid for having killed them. And every once in a while, a piece of a wolf pelt will fall out. And that kind of freaks us out. Tax books, these are fascinating. People were taxed on pleasure carriages, clocks, and watches. And of course, for historians, I think later they were taxed on pianos. But these tax records show slave ownership as well. So these are excellent research sources. Cheryl's deed books. We have 2 aisles full of Cheryl's deed books. Those are regularly used. Most of our records are used regularly. Most of them. Coroner's books. These are interesting too. If you ever want to just come down and look through a coroner's record book. Apparently, a lot of people committed suicide by drinking carbolic acid back in the day. Sounds like a very unpleasant way to go. Oops, I meant to take these out. I wasn't sure if they were appropriate. A couple of my favorite archivist memes. And I really wanted to put this on the front door when we were closed for 2 months during COVID, but I wasn't sure Shane would appreciate it. But yeah, I love that one. I don't know how much time we have left.
I have a question.
Yes.
So this stuff obviously keeps growing and accumulating.
Mhm.
Is there any thought to digitizing some of it? Because it seems to me some of the value of these documents is the document itself.
Mhm.
And some of the value is the information contained in it as opposed to the document itself. Like
It is primarily,
like that. So digitize it, put it in the cloud or store it that way.
yes. One thing I was told in my internship, it's not the piece of paper that's important, it's the information on it. Of course, I'm not dealing with the Declaration of Independence here. That's a whole different ball game. But yes, the circuit court records, they are gradually microfilming their records from like the 2000s right now. And then the ones, we have them beginning in 1833. And we have Leslie James, who's a local records archivist for the state archives. Her project in Greene County is processing the records from 1833 up to 1899, and they are microfilming them. They keep a roll of the microfilm at the state, and then we get a CD. So yes, that is in the process. It will take many years, many years. And we do have some things on our website that we put up there as a project for the bicentennial in 2021. All the 1906 lynching materials, the 2 freedom suits from Greene County, Hickok's manslaughter case, all of these primary ones that Greene County is known for, those are currently on our website. And we'll be adding more things. We have some of the tax books that are transcribed that we'll put online for researchers. So yes, it is happening, but it just takes a very long time. Yes.
Does anything come to mind about a very interesting court case that might have been held in this room or in this building?
So many of them. Well, of course, this wasn't until, what, 1913, 15. One of the cases, and I can't remember what year, it was when Marcel Hendricks was sheriff. But I came across one where a man got, I think it was life in prison for assault, felonious assault. And I thought, wow, that's extreme. That was a pretty long sentence for felonious assault. And as I read the case, it's because he assaulted Sheriff Hendricks and tried to escape out here on the steps. So yeah, that was a good one. Yes.
But you work for National Park Service? I know at one point they had the largest Civil War archive west of Mississippi.
Oh, at Wilson's Creek? Yes. I mean, no, I don't work for them.
No, you work with them.
Occasionally, they do come in and do research. Yeah, because we have a lot of circuit court cases that took place during the Civil War and some of them after that were related to Civil War, thefts, you know, soldiers coming through and stealing people's property and they later got sued for it. We do have a lot of those. So yeah, and they do come in and research our records. What time is it? Oh, okay.
10 minutes.
We still have time. Let's see, what else can I think
I
of?
got another one.
Okay.
So have you gotten with Dave Odell? Because when we, back in 2008, when we were replacing terrazzo floor and our contractor was tearing it all up, he found lots of interesting things in the floor, like tobacco tins.
Oh, wow. And what did he do with those?
Last, I knew that they were still just in his office on top of one of the shelves. You may want to go up and visit Dave.
Oh, absolutely.
Some of it we may put down from the first floor.
Well, as long as they weren't disposed of, that's pretty cool. We also got out of the ground next door to us a Kirby bottle. He was another brewer in town, saloon owner. Got charged with murder once, but he was acquitted. And several pieces of pottery. That was interesting. I like to talk about the murder cases. A.J. Bass, his house caught on fire one night. And he got his kids out, didn't get his wife out, but when they investigated, she had been shot. And he said, well, that's because when the fire reached the ammo in my house, that's how she got shot. Well, the jury didn't buy that. He went to prison, but he filed an appeal and was acquitted. And he took his kids and left town. Yes.
Why microfilm instead of digital?
Microfilm in theory, well, they do both now, but microfilm in theory lasts 500 years. You don't need any special equipment to use it. You just need a light source. So if anything happened to the power, if someone had to have records, you could use the microfilm, whereas you couldn't use the digital. Yeah. And you don't have to microfilm your records. The state doesn't dictate in what form you keep your permanent records, but they do appreciate the microfilm and they will store it for you. Oh, and we are working on last year we got a grant for more map cases because we have maps everywhere, just laying on the shelves. So we got new map cases. This year we're applying for a new deed book desk. And one's not in here. To have some of Alan's tax books from the 80s and 90s microfilmed, digitized, and then we can dispose of them. They're very large, they're very heavy, and they're causing our shelves to sway. Yes.
Is there a set of rules or standards or guidelines by which you decide what to keep and what to not keep or what to take in? Or...
Well, we will take most anything that the county wants to send over. That's what we're there for. And then we do like, if it's not permanent retention, if it's not anything that's permanent, we do like to shred it when its retention date has been met. And that is something determined like by the local records board. But otherwise, we do take whatever the county sends over.
So it's never just by your own judgment.
Well, some of the things we keep, there are things we keep that we believe have historical value. And so we won't get rid of them. There's some very, well, I think from the late 1800s to 1930 prosecutors' records that we could actually destroy, but we think they have historical value. It's just one box. So we're keeping those. Otherwise, it's up to the local records board to make the determination of what we have to keep and what we don't have to keep. Yes.
Still, I'm thinking about the microfilm and the possibility of making those searchable. Has there been discussions about how you might make those digitally searchable? For example, companion PDFs, use OCR, something like that. Anything?
Well, we're getting a CD or DVD from the state now of those older records. And they're in order by box and folder number, so we can just scroll through and easily find the one we want, which is basically the same on the microfilm, and that index is online. Yeah, any other way, I don't know. And then there was the divorce case between, I can't remember their names, but he accused her. This was in the 1880s when spiritualism was starting to be a big thing. She accused him of cheating on her, which he probably was because she was named, but he accused her basically of being crazy because she claimed she was in touch with the dead Judge Lindenbauer, who had been murdered a few years back. That was a very interesting divorce case.
As you said, with all your boxes, there, it's all in an inventory.
Mhm.
So do you have special archive software for that, or is it just a database like Excel or something?
For our primary inventory, we use Access. And then we have particular finding aids, or say the old records beginning in 1833. We have a finding aid for those that has the name of every person charged, state of Missouri against so-and-so. Because in the primary inventory, it's just this box 1 through 10 is on this shelf. But on that finding aid, we can find anyone's name, and that will tell us where to go, what box. Yeah. Yeah, we can find most anything. And we have a finding aid for the naturalization records we have. We're doing one for the city ordinances now, the commission records. Yeah, we have all kinds of finding aids. Because we need to be able to find things.
Yeah.
When office holders need them, when the public needs them. Any more questions? We do have a couple of display cases we got last year when National Art Shop closed. They said they came from hers. And we have some Frisco items on display in those, if anyone wants to come down and check that out. Questions? Yes.
Do people have to wear special gloves
No.
when they want to look at the old books?
No.
To help preserve it?
No, gloves are mainly for show. Unless you're dealing with sometimes old photographs, glass plate negatives, but otherwise, no. Gloves can be more damaging because you can't get a grip. We do ask that your hands be clean, but otherwise, no special anything. And we have book sofas, some of the old books that cradles them. You saw those. Yeah, book sofas, especially for the city directories because they're pretty fragile and it helps preserve the binding. Anything else? Are we done? Are we good? Well, thank you all for coming and for your interest. And I hope to see you in the archive sometime.